Alright guys, hi. So I had some requests to do a little video on Substance Painter, and I think it not only is it for the stylized art we're going for, on how to do that in Substance Painter, but just a general kind of overview of Substance Painter, because I know some of you haven't used it before, or very little, or you've used Designer but not Painter, whatever it may be. I'm going to try to do my best to show you a little bit of everything in Substance Painter that I personally use. I mean, I'm not as experienced with it, as some professionals or anything. I've only been using it for about a year and a half now, but I will show you what I know, and hopefully it'll be useful to you guys. So, first thing is, this is your Substance Painter UI. Down here is the shelf, which is where you'll find some of your, pretty much everything you'll be using unless you bring something in externally. And right now it's on all, so every single thing you can use is here. Over here is a project we're working on. Here's a list of alphas you can use, however you see fit. Grunges, different alphas there, procedurals, more stuff like that. And then you have textures, different things like that. This is all built into Substance, so you have all these just like I do. Hard surfaces, this is for different normal work. I use these a lot for different things. They can give you some pretty cool effects. Filters, I don't really mess with these too much, but if you need to achieve something in particular, you can do it with these. Brushes, obviously, the type of brush you are painting with. You can adjust those over here when we use one. Particles, these are really, really awesome. They basically simulate whatever particle you choose going across your mesh, and it's pretty awesome. Tools, materials, these are just base materials. So the difference between a material and a smart material is this material is basically, it's there and that's what it is, but the smart material you can basically break down and pull apart and make changes to any little bit of it that you need to achieve what you want. So they're really, really useful and great for a starting tool. And that doesn't mean you don't need material. I use plenty of the materials all the time, like fabric rough I use a lot, concrete smooth and concrete simple I use a lot, rust fine I use all the time. They're all really, really good. And the smart materials, I use all of them all the time. They're really all good, and they added a couple new ones in the latest version of Substance Painter, if you have that. Smart masks, use these all the time. These are great for achieving whatever kind of effect you want, if you want to look dirty or aged or whatever you need. This is what that's for. Environment that's rendering and color profiles. So those are all the things in your shelf that you can use to paint. Over here is your layers, which is where these things, particularly masks and materials, will end up going, and they'll apply to your object and your viewport here. And this is, I guess, technically also a viewport, but for your texture, like UV itself. And then down here is just general texture settings, display settings, and viewer settings. These are more for you to adjust different things when it comes to, like, if you want opacity for your object, opacity in your texture, if you want emission, things like that. Display settings, this is if you have some type of, this is almost like a post-processing for Substance Painter. And then viewer settings, this is also more of a rendering thing. But anyway, so there's your general overview. That's pretty much everything I use. Properties we'll get into, texture list we'll get into, and then up here I don't really use a whole lot of these, but they're also useful. So that's Substance Painter. Now actually using it. So I guess, let me see what I can use in here. So we're using Unreal Engine, so you could probably just use the Unreal Engine for basically pre-set up for the template. If you're not using it particularly on Unreal or whatever, you're just doing a nice render, I like to go with the metallic roughness build template. That's really nice, but I'll just use Unreal 4 for this. We'll just use a 2048 for this. And then you can leave everything else the same and then select. This is where you're going to select your mesh. So let's see what we got in here. I can use stylize. Let's go to, I'm trying to remember, this is some older stuff I've worked on, so let me just see what I can find in here. I'm probably going to pull the crate out from the mine scene I did. Let's see, where was that? Oh boy. It's in here. Yep, here it is, crate. And obviously, this is assuming you've already ID mapped, UV'd, all those things, and you've exported your mesh as an FBX. So this is the crate FBX here. As you can see, it's set here, and then OK. Hopefully this is the right one. Okay, so yeah, here's your my crate that I made. So yeah, there's the crate, and you can see it over here in the viewport, and then right here you have your texture, or your UV. And from here, this is where you kind of start. So now you can see down here, this just got a whole lot more involved. There's so much more here. Every single one of these windows now has something going on in it. And here, like I said, texture settings. So this is what the types of textures there are, texture maps that are on there currently. So we have a base color, a height, a roughness, metallic, normal. Those are like the standard ones. Here's how you can add more. So you can add an opacity, remissive, glossiness, diffuse, different things like that. The only other ones I typically have added in the past is an opacity and an emissive. I haven't really messed with the other ones that much, seeing as I haven't really had a need to use them. But that's where they all are. You can take away different ones. If you want to take away your metallic for whatever reason, you can do that. And then Control Z still works in here like any other program. And the Control Z actually is pretty good in this. It pretty much it undoes anything you need it to. Like if I change size, it typically goes back to the thing. Guess not. I don't know. That's weird. Typically I have it goes back to, like, if you changed it. Oh, it might not on the brush. I think it does that on the texture is my mistake. But anyway, yeah, if you're messing with the texture in here and you Control Z, it will go back, which is really nice, just because if you change it and you don't remember what the value it previously had set on whatever material you're editing, it'll go back to that. It's really handy. So anyway, so yeah, here's a crate, and we'll get into these more when we start adding stuff. This first layer, I usually just delete it. I mean, you don't really need it unless you're doing something. Yeah, you just don't need it typically. You're gonna do so much more to it that layer doesn't matter. And if you need a blank layer, you just add it when the time comes. So anyway, this is your crate, and the first thing you want to do is bake it, which is down here in your texture settings. You just scroll down, additional maps, bake. Click bake textures, and you can turn on any map you want, or any of the maps you need. I just leave all of them on. Make sure ID is turned on, because I don't think it is by default. This is where you would bake your high poly onto your low. So typically you have your low over here, and you click this little paper that's folded in the corner, and you select the high definition mesh, and it bakes onto the low. In this case, I'm just going to bake this mesh onto itself to get the normal and ID information and things like that. So for now, let's do this. Open, and then bake crate textures. Also, before I bake, up here at the top right, see how it just says crate, and that's just my overall, that's the material that's on it. If you, for whatever reason, chose to do multiple materials in yours, so like the wood part is wood, the metal part here is metal, there'll be two here, and then it'll ask you if you want to bake a particular one. If you just had like a high poly just metal part for whatever reason, you could bake that one, or you can bake them all once and say bake all crate texture sets. So since I just have the one, because I just ID mapped on the single material, it just has crate, and then I just bake onto crate, and that's what I'll do now. So it's gonna bake. It might say there's an error or something like that, but it's fine. Everything still goes through. I've looked into the error, and people said that it's not anything that really causes a problem, which sometimes it doesn't have an error. I don't really know what causes it. I do things pretty much the same every time, but if there is one, it's no biggie. Don't worry about it. And no errors, so that's good. Alright, so we just baked our texture, and you can see all the maps right here, nice and pretty. Got your normal, world space normal, ID, ambient occlusion, curvature, position, and thickness. And that's all right there. And if for whatever reason you don't need one anymore, just click that and it goes away. And you can click B to cycle through these if you need some information, whatever it may be, to look at it. And then you click M to go back to your current material. that you want shown. So, anyway, let's get into just doing stuff to this thing. Not particularly stylize, we'll just do stuff to it for now. Well, I guess we could just do the stylized. It doesn't really matter. If we want to do like a more high definition thing, we can do that. I can do a video for that later. But for now, I'll just stick with the stylized, I guess. So, for me personally, when it comes to my style that we kind of all were trying to go for, Greg said that's kind of what we're aiming for, that I showcased in class, I just use a fill color to create my different pieces. So the wood is just a fill color, and the way you add a fill color is with the little paint bucket that is half full and a fill color. So now the fill color's on there, and it doesn't look like it's changed, but that's because the default color is the default fill color. So if you come over here, now we have all this stuff we can edit in our material, our properties. It's pretty cool. The stuff you can do is pretty crazy how much you can add to it. So what we'll do now is change our fill color. So if we want to make it red, we can make it like a more faded red, green, move it around there, all this. We can mess with any of this. You have your hue, saturation, RGB, all that action is over here. And you can eyedrop, and you can actually eyedrop anything you want. It's like you can actually eyedrop the menu here and it'll give it to you. You can come down here and eyedrop this, you can eyedrop that, it's whatever you need. So it's pretty cool. So anyway, I will pick a nice brownish color that looks pretty for this. And of course, we want, kind of brighter colors. It's stylized, but at the same time, our game is kind of like, there's a lot of combat, it's battling and stuff like that. So we don't want it happy, pretty, and stuff like that, but we want it to look nice. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time doing this in particular, just because I'm just showing you how to do it all. So we'll just pick a pretty color here. Not finding that sweet spot. There's a nice little sweet spot in here that actually looks pretty decent. That's doable. Let me actually, also another thing. So stylize, see how this looks just, I guess anything really. See how this looks kind of shiny? Wood does not look like that. So we're going to come over here to our properties, and we're going to knock this roughness up a bit to get rid of that shine. And me personally, in stylized, even a little bit of shine can do a lot, especially because the post-processing will knock it up a bit if you do certain things. So I kind of overdo it a bit with my roughness, just to make sure that it's not going to be an issue. So I usually bring it up to like 7. And if it still is like a bit too much, you can knock it down, but I'm just going to leave it at 7 for now. So that's it looks nice. So we'll leave it like that. I'm not going to mess with the metallic or the normal uniform color or anything like that. So this is good. So we have our wood for now. Secondly, we'll come in here, add another fill color, and notice what happened to our brown. Well, over here in the layers area, it works the exact same as Photoshop. If the layer's above one, you can't see it, so we can actually hold left click and drag and put it underneath. And now we can't see that one because it's underneath the brown. So we can just put that back up. It doesn't really matter right now. And also, make sure you do name your layer. So I'll name this wood, because when it comes to what we're trying to work on, one thing you heard me mention in class, Greg and I kind of were talking about making little assembly line engines for us. So basically, I'll get into this more when I'm done the crate. Basically, what we'll do is, if we have something that would use this exact color layout, we just save all of this and we can apply it directly to that material. It's pretty cool. But I'll explain that at the end. So we have our wood. Our second fill layer, we're going to call, let's call it metal. And we're going to knock this down a little bit, make it like a darker metal-y color. And it's got a nice little shine to it, but let's knock the metallic up a little just so it looks more metal-y, and bring our roughness up. Because roughness is great, but it bothers me sometimes, so and it might be kind of naive, but I usually knock my roughness up a bit, just because I don't like my stuff all shiny. So for now, this looks good, but we'll see how it looks along with the wood. So, how do we get our wood to show through our metal? Well, that's where masking comes in, which is one of the most powerful things you can do in any program, really. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over here to our metal, going to right click it, and here you have add mask with color selection. So what that means is you can add a mask based on your ID colors. So we're going to click that, and now it's completely masked off right now. So it's hidden entirely, so we can't see it. So what we're going to do is, if for whatever reason that thing is not here, you click the mask itself, and there it is. Color selection. You can hide that whenever you want with these hides, whatever you're looking at. So anyway, color selection, click that, and then over here you have it. So what we're going to do is, in our ID mask selection, colors, what color do we want this to be shown on? Not covered, what we want it to be shown through. So we're going to pick a color, and we want our metal to be shown through yellow. So we're going to click that, and there it is, visible right through the yellow. Alright, and that looks decent enough for this. So, alright, so that's taken care of. We'll call that done for now. And then what we want to do next is add another fill color. Again, like I said, the style is really dependent on the fill colors. You don't need to do this really nice wood material to give the wood an appearance. I mean, you can already see this is kind of coming together as a wood crate, and a kind of, not necessarily cartoony, but a non-hyper-realistic type of game. So, for the bolts, I typically like to make my bolts brighter. So it goes from, our color to a dark silver to a light silver. That's just me, it doesn't really matter that much, but we'll do it for this. So, I'm going to make a nice little light silver, knock our metallic up a little bit, and knock our roughness up a little bit. Now, what do we do here? Same thing. Right click, add mask with color selection, click this, which is already selected for us, pick color, and what color do we want this light silver to show through? Our blue. So now it's applied. And after looking at it, I think our metal is still a bit rough, so we can come down here and click it, or not rough enough I should say, and drag it up, knock it down just a little bit more, and that's okay. And then our bolts a little too dark, so we can click the fill color, come over here, base color, and just drag it up just a hair. And that looks good. Alright, that's good enough. Maybe that's a bit too bright now, actually. Let's knock it down just a little bit. Okay, that's probably good. Not gonna sit on it all day. Okay, so there's our crate. It's pretty, it's nice, it's cool, it's got the job done. And don't forget to name this, we'll call it bolts. Okay, so there we go. Now, for making this kind of really have that wood appearance. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a layer by clicking the stacked squares. Now we have a layer, blank layer. And I'm just going to call this details. I'll call it wood details actually, because it's only going to be on the wood. So what we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and actually add the same mask process we've been doing to the rest, but to the wood. So again, I've picked a color, picked red, and now this layer will only be shown through the red. Now why did I do that? Well, particularly because with this layer, we're going to be doing the wood details, and I want to be able to draw on the wood all I want without hurting anything else. So let me actually show you without that, what it would look like. Also, if you ever need to remove a mask, right click, remove mask. Okay, so the way I do my wood details is I come over here to my property, scroll down to material, and turn everything off by clicking it. You can just turn off what maps it's using by clicking it. So click color, metal, height, rough, and not normal. We're going to keep normal on. So we're going to come over here to our hard surfaces, come down to line, and we're going to drag it into normal color and let it go. So now that is what we're going to be using for our normal map on this layer. Now let's go to brushes, and I'm going to use a default soft. So now, as you can see, I'm painting with that normal hard surface with a default soft brush to it. So you can paint it with anything. So if I wanted to paint it with a dirt, you can. If you paint it with a hard, you can. Artistic for whatever reason, you can. That's pretty cool. But I personally like the default soft for this type of what we're about to do. So anyway, And also, if you hold control and scroll wheel, you can change the sizes. If you hold control, or if you hold control and hold down left click, move the mouse vertically, you rotate it. If you move it down, it rotates. If you move it left and right, it changes transparency. It's a lot of really handy stuff to know because that's going to help you do a lot of different things really quickly in Substance. I love it. So anyway, back to the actual what I'm about to do. So to make this look like wood, I used this technique with the normal line. And what I was saying earlier about masking this also doesn't affect anything. So let's try to paint some lines on here. Oh, it goes right over our wood, and that looks a bit ridiculous. And that's definitely not what we want. So, and it's going to be more annoying to try to hit that and then, hit that and not get it on there. It's just not going to work out for us. So we're going to get rid of these. And we're going to, like I said, right click, add mask with color selection, pick a color, and red. So now when we paint on this bad boy, right through as if nothing even happened. So we can draw all over this and nothing will ever affect the metal. So now we can really just do this. So for me, I like to take this at a nice angle here. Take this at this angle and then just kind of go at it. So I'm going to do a line here, and you can hold shift to extend it, and it'll go in a straight line from that point. Something like that. Just a short one there, another one there, and then up here, short one, and we'll do a little bit longer one. And then you want to do that, just kind of go through and place these little wood cracks all around the wood. And then we'll come over here, and I'll do it on this side next. Do some of that, and that. Give me a longer one there, and I'll leave that one how it is. Nice long one, middle one, a smaller one in the middle there, and even smaller one on the side. There, 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 and bring that down a little bit, and then one there. So now you can actually really see the wood kind of coming together here. It looks like wood. And if you want to do more with it, you can start kind of putting ones in the middle just to, help it a little bit more define that it's wood. So we can do that over here real quick. In there, and I'll do one right there, and maybe another right there. And you can do that, and it definitely looks, helps with the wood, and it looks a little older, but to me, it feels a bit too liney now. So that's why I only go from the edges. That's just what I like to do. I mean, if you can make it look nice by doing that, sure, and if we're looking for an older wood, sure, do that. But for this, even what I did here might be a bit much, so don't be afraid to not do a lot, because as you saw, it still looks like a wood crate with or without those. This just kind of helps reinforce the fact that it is a wood crate. So yeah, don't be afraid to not put a line if you think it's too much going on. Like right in here, a bit much, over here, a bit much. Well, this looks kind of nice, and as it does over here, because there's not too much. So yeah, don't be afraid to not put something because you don't think it'll look right. Because the stylized effect, is pretty well achieved with or without the lines. Now me, I don't typically get into the metal too much because it's not the importance of the crate. And it'll just look too grainy if we do a lot in here. If I do something, we'll come over here and make a new layer. We will turn off our line. We don't need that anymore for doing the, well, if we do need it, we can get it back, but we don't need it for the metal. And we'll just turn our height on, and we'll knock that down a hair. And again, this is on a new layer, and I'll call this Metal Details. Rip typing. Anyway, and you can just do that, and it doesn't look like there's enough for it there, so we can just increase the heightness, and alright, little something for our metal there, give it a little bit of detailing. Just so there's something on it. Like I said, typically I don't do this, but you can. If you think the metal's really lacking, there's no problem in doing it. But I'm not gonna, well, I'll just leave, I'll take them off, because I don't normally do that. Also, another thing you can do for the metal details What we'll do is, we don't need that anymore. Don't need that anymore. Another, I guess, way you could do it. It might. I haven't actually tried this, but I'm thinking of it now. You could do something like this. So you could come over here to where is it? Looking for iron old. I think it's called. Maybe it's called. Oh, there it is. Iron old. This is a smart material. So I'm gonna drop it in here. It's gonna apply to everything and look a bit janky, kind of weird. Actually, kind of cool, but definitely not wood. Anyway, so we're gonna mask this off, same as always, and here's the yellow. And now our meadow has a little something going on, but again, this now starts to look a bit realistic from the rest. It's just not what we want, really. We could probably smack down the wear level here, and the way you get to that, is you click your smart material, and when you click the smart material, you can click this little folder, and it gives you everything you can adjust within the smart material. That's what makes it smart. So you can come down here, and in your edges, now don't forget, in the smart material, everything is selectable. The particular fill color here, it's selectable, and you can come down here and adjust the fill. You can adjust the fill color itself right here. You can adjust the iron, and there's always parameters. Make sure you click the parameters and adjust those, because you can do a lot with them. There's plenty. Just click, 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 and make sure you expose everything so you have everything you want to work with. Now for me particularly, I'm going to be doing this. You can always click your mask, and that has a whole lot you can work with. So I'm going to click this. So again, you have all this information for the edge itself, and then you click this, and there's your detailing for the edge. So what I'm going to try to do is, we're going to knock down the wear level quite a bit. It's just too much wear going on the edges. We're going to knock the contrast down, and then we're going to take the grunge amount down. Which I think that actually might be the color, so we don't see it. Wait. And adjust these all the time, just so you can try to figure out what it all is. You know, I don't know what all of these do. I mean, edge smoothness, obviously, but like, you know, what is it really changing in this? So this didn't actually change what I wanted to. So I'm going to come back over to iron. I think that's where I want. So yes, I'm going to knock down my height position. Bring it up, maybe, let's see. Yes, height position, we're going to knock that down. And you can see up in here, that starts to not look as intense. See, it's kind of softer. That gives us a little bit of detail. And we're going to knock the contrast down a little bit. And, you know, we're just trying to get some effect on the metal. Again, I typically don't do anything to my metal, but this is something if we need it. So I'll probably just leave it on for this little demo. It's no biggie. I would not do this probably, but it's just showing you more. It's probably smart to get into smart materials for this demo. So let me just continue with that. Let me think about this smart material. There's a lot in it. Steel, rust, surfaces. I think a lot going on. Yeah, look at all this. This is one smart material. So you can adjust everything. You can adjust the sharpness. You can get further into the sharpness. You have the rust fill, the rust itself, the rust mask edging, edge, things like everything. There's so much you can do in this smart material. So yeah, don't be afraid to just click it, go in, and move everything around and just see what it does over here. And it'll help you learn what it does and how to manipulate materials, your materials the way you want them. You know, just take a day just to sit in Substance Painter and just break it, really. Just mess it up, figure out what everything does, and have fun with it. And, you know, that's what's really going to help you, you know, get better at it. So anyway, let's get rid of that. And we'll just say this, let's just pretend this crate is, well, actually, first, I should get into masking a little more. So let's just say this crate is being placed in a dirty area. I don't know. Mud pile or something like that. It's been dropped in the mud, we'll say that. So we'll add a fill layer. And we'll bring the fill layer to the top because we want this to affect everything. So let's just find a nice little mud color, like a dark brown or something like that. I mean, this doesn't really matter for demo purposes, but that's probably fine. I mean, let's take our roughness up a bit just because it's a bit shiny. And that's probably okay for this. It kind of has this nice little effect in here. I'm really digging this. Actually kind of looks, you know, a little gooey in there, something like that, a little shine on the edges. It'll be a nice mud texture, I think, when we get to it. So we'll just call this mud, and let's just say again it got dropped in the mud or something like that. So in your smart masks down here in your shelf, you can pick a smart mask and you'll literally drag it onto your layer. So I'm going to try ground dirt out. I think that might look nice on this. Drop that on there, and look at that. Now we got ourselves a nice dirty crate dropped in the mud. Still a bit shiny actually, so we can click our fill and, you know, up the roughness a bit, and there we go. So that actually did turn out kind of nice. Now remember, everything is adjustable, even in your masks. So you can click the mask, and you have grunge map 31, grunge dirt, all this stuff. So we can bring the height up a bit, you know, how deep did it fall into, we can increase the contrast, and I'm actually going to knock the contrast up quite a bit, because if, you know, stylized is really heavy one way or the other. So we're going to bring it up. So, you know, we want it to be that color, not that color. We don't want this mix where it's kind of like, ooh, it's dirty. That looks a bit realistic. So we're going to knock our contrast way up. It actually looks pretty nice. So we're going to do that. We're going to lower, we're going to mess with our level a bit just to see what it does for us. We'll leave it somewhere like that. Didn't fall too deep, but it got pretty messed up. And our smart mask, you know, takes care of putting it around there for us, you know, a little dirt here and there. It looks nice. And our dirt itself, it looks like there might be never mind our mud. That's fine. Okay. Alright, so there's our mud. Let me double check something though. Again, it's all about coming in here and messing with the stuff. And I don't really want these brown spots that much. As you can see, they come more or less depending on the contrast. But that doesn't really matter for this demo, so we'll just knock that up. And we'll take the balance down to 0. Because again, we want fill colors. We want a color for our stylized stuff. We don't want all these mix of colors, because then it starts to look a bit realistic. So by knocking away that one, we took care of it. Now we have a nice just brown, and that is our mud. Now, our mud, something's just off. And we're gonna see if we can fix it and what feels off about it, which it still looks fine without it. And, you know, depending on how it looks in engine, you might not want to do this or not, but it doesn't look, it looks like it's on the wood, like part of it. It looks like it's part of the wood. We want it to appear like it got splatted onto it. It's a nice way to do that. It's really simple. We want to come to our fill color for the mud, drop down here to our height, and we're going to knock our height up. So let me just show you what a max height would look like. So obviously that's ridiculous, but it looks like it's up on it. Let's knock it down to a more realistic height. And leave it a little bit much still. Drop it. And when it comes to stylized, really, very minuscule changes do a lot. So this is only, you can click this little pencil here to get an exact number. It's only a 0.049. That is not much, but it does a lot for it compared to the 0 it was at. So let's change it to 0 and see how that looks. See how much different it looks just with the 0? So we're going to leave it how it was with the 0 point. Let's just call it 0.5. That's kind of nice. It looks good. It's good for this. So anyway, so let's just pretend our crate is done. This bad boy is completed, ready to be exported, and it's a good time. So, again, we want to set this up as a big old engine for ourselves. And we're going to actually call this the metal details. I forgot that I deleted the other one. So we want this to be like a big engine. So basically what we're going to do is, if anything else was going to use this setup, we want it to be simple as dropping in that mesh, slapping all these on it, and calling it a day. So, well, the way we're going to do that is, we are going to put everything in one big folder. We're going to call this, and use an underscore because it'll come. So what we're about to do is we're going to make our own smart material. So when we make our own smart material, it will appear in here. And if we use an underscore, in the front of ours, it'll appear right at the top. So basically we're organizing all of our own personal custom smart materials right at the top of the bar so they're easy to access. So in this case, if anything else is going to be using this build here, it's probably going to be some ambient wood object. Some crate, barrel, chest, something, some type of wood object sitting around the map. So I'm going to call this ambient wood object. So now, anytime, well, let me finish this first. So, take this, hold shift, and click the bottom one, and it selects all of them at once, and we're just going to drag it and drop it right into our folder. And you can see it's in our folder now, because if we click this, they're gone. If we click it, it's shifted to the right a bit, and it's down below it. So that's how we know everything's in the folder. Now, everything is in there. So now, if we bring a mesh in, and autosave it looks like, or something like that. Hopefully it doesn't crash. There we go. Alright, so now anytime we bring another mesh in, we can quickly, after creating this new smart material, which we're about to do, so right click, create smart material. Click it, take a little load, and boom, there it is, ambient wood object. So just to show, delete this. So this is as if right here. This is exactly how we came in here with a layer and our object. Just, again, drop that layer and then drag it, and boom, it's done exactly how we did it before. So now the thing is, the reason this is an engine is because we want, so obviously in these engines we'll do more stuff to them, but since this is a quick simple thing, we just are going to have our wood. So let's say we have a barrel or something like that, and we bring it in, we can say we don't want mud on this. There you go, turn the mud off, and then you export it. If you want it on there, turn the mud on, export it. Now you have one with both. If you, you know, different things like that. If you need, for whatever reason, which you probably won't, you can just change the colors, however you see fit. Now, the only thing that's not going to carry over well is the details, on the wood in particular, because we literally hand-painted these textures in here, these lines. So if we bring something else in, it's not going to turn out how we want it. So if we bring something in, you could really just delete this one and then do a new layer and paint that on there, because it's not going to work. And you can't make everything as modular or as assembly line as you want, just because things are unique from each other. It's just how that is. You could do as close as you can, and it would turn out pretty good. Like even that one we had on there, it still could come kind of close, but it's not going to be as precise, especially with this hand painting style, or hand painting technique we're using for this. So anyway, yeah, so this is our little engine here. Now the very important thing is, which you should start doing, is when it comes to your ID mapping, try to strictly have a system in which your colors follow. So let me pull up my ID map here. So in this case, I almost always use red is going to be some type of wood. Almost in every single case, my metal is some type of yellow or green. And then my little finer details like the bolts or anything like that are blue or purple. So those are just little things I have written down. So for this particular engine, if you know you're making a barrel and it's going to be using this ambient wood object type of texture, just know already that you're going to want your barrel's wood to be red, its metal to be yellow, and its bolts to be blue. So as soon as you drop it in here, all of these will apply perfectly correct once they're baked. So that's what the engine is. Now when it comes to these, you can just, I believe it's a simple yes. You can right click, export resource, and you can drop it in a folder, and we'll share it on Discord or Perforce or wherever, and you'll have access to it, to the person who's making the barrel. And if we have a texture team or whatever, then they can just ship the barrel to us and we'll take care of it. So that's pretty much that. So yeah, if there's anything I didn't answer, just let me know. Send me a message on Discord, text me if you have my number, send me an email. I'm usually really good about answering anything you hit me up on. Just I want to be, you know, I want to help all of you because I know, we're making a game, but at the end of the day, I want you to help to prepare you guys as best as I can in my abilities to be ready, after school's done, to get you out in the world and everything. Not saying that I'm some veteran or expert, because I'm definitely not, but what I do know, I want to share with you guys. So I hope this really helped everyone, whether it's just as simple as knowing substance or the stylized style or both. I hope that really helped, and I hope everyone enjoyed. I hope the video turns out okay. My voice might be a little loud. I didn't do really any audio testing. I just kind of was like, is my voice hearable? Or can it be heard, I guess? Yes. Is substance working? Yes. And do I have a mesh? Yes. And then I jumped in. So hopefully this was good for everyone. I have no idea how long it's been. It might have been like 25 and 30 minutes. I hope it doesn't waste a lot of your day trying to watch it. You can skip around, whatever you need to do. But I will drop a link. It'll be an unlisted YouTube video for you to access. And I hope this helped everyone. And good luck with your classes, and good luck doing your texturing work on here. Thank you all very much.